Welcome back to Codebreakers. Today's guest is a true multi-hyphenate who operates at the intersection of fine arts, academia, and commercial creativity. He is an award-winning filmmaker, an Iranian-American storyteller, a faculty member at UNLV's College of Fine Arts, and the founder of Zed Collective, Shahab Zaghari. Welcome to the show, Shahab.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a blast.
I'm so excited to have you. I've been excited about all the guests to come on here because you guys are all my friends.
Yeah,
But
you've curated a really nice bunch, not to talk myself up, but yeah, I mean, this has been, the who's who of the Las Vegas creatives, the Las Vegas, people who aren't afraid to ruffle feathers but get the job done kind of
yeah,
situation. It's nice.
yeah, no,
I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
I am too. That if you guys, as I said before, if you guys don't know these people who are appearing on this podcast, you should get to know them. These are people who have given me some great advice over the year. Me and Shahab, we go way back as well.
That's true.
I can't even tell you where we met at first, but
I
we
don't
go
even
way
remember. It's
back.
been so long.
It has
Which
been.
means we've also known each other in 1,000 other lifetimes and alternate universes and all that.
For
I firmly
sure.
believe that. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I love that because, everybody isn't all multiverse and multidimensional and stuff. But I believe that if I've known you this long and you still in my life and like there's no bad blood, then I've
Yeah,
definitely known you and had you as a friend in a different lifetime.
totally.
Okay, speaking of lifetimes, let's take this back to the
Dun, dun,
beginning.
dun.
How did you get here? What led you to cinema and starting Zed Creative? Let's talk about your journey.
So I was born in Los Angeles, and that already is Hollywood right
That's
there.
my hometown.
So I like in elementary school, I remember the take your parents to work day, right?
Mhm.
And this gal in my class, her dad did the special effects on the first Poltergeist movie. So he wheeled in this VHS thing and pushed play, and it was like how they imploded the house at the end of the movie. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a job. And from that moment on, I was like, that I want to do that.
Yeah.
But it was a long and windy road. I'm Persian, and Persian parents and families, they want you to be an engineer or a doctor, and my brain doesn't work like that. I really wish it did. Sometimes
Mhm.
I wish I wasn't. I could be an engineer or an architect.
Mhm.
I know my limitations. Let's just say that. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I didn't really pursue filmmaking or any of the fine arts or art or anything like that. I did my undergrad in liberal arts, got a degree in sociology, but I don't dislike that. Sociology is the study of how politics and marketing and religion can sway large groups of people. I mean, even to a certain extent, memes and
Yeah.
disinformation, right? And so just having that knowledge kind of catapulted me into the marketing world. And that was where I really, started to up my game as far as, the video and photography side of things. But I must say, just in general, ask anyone, I've always had a camera in my hand, fifth
I think
grade,
that's super
10th
cool.
grade. I mean, I've just never stopped. I've never stopped shooting on 35 millimeter film. You
See,
know,
I
it,
wish I would have known you back then because, man, the way my mom kept cameras in our face, I would have had all kind of photo shoots with you.
right? Yeah. But in terms of actually coming into that or even introducing myself, like, 2026, I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Shahab. I'm a filmmaker. Like that wasn't always the case. Took me a minute to get there. Took me a minute to get the confidence to get there. But then once I had it, I knew I had it. I knew that this love and this passion that I've had since I was in that elementary school class, I knew it was what I was destined to do. And so even now, what I do at UNLV, a lot of people think I teach courses. I do not. I'm an administrative faculty member. What that means is I work in the dean's office for the College of Fine Arts. So, I'm not just tied into film or theater. I work with film, theater, architecture, dance, music, which is like, jazz band, symphony orchestra, and it's the whole gamut. And so in doing that, I have to promote the shows, I have to promote, the film festivals and musical theater. And in doing that, I'm using my talents with photography and videography to kind of elevate, that. And even, the 9 years that I've been there, things have changed in that, you know, before social media kind of looked and acted a certain way.
Yeah.
Now it's algorithm based. Now there's, alt tags for accessibility. I mean, there's just, it's completely different now. But
Yeah.
I do feel blessed and lucky that I did land the gig at UNLV 9 years ago, because it really has allowed me to, with the day job, continue to hone my skills.
That's so fun.
That was so
Now,
long winded, but that was like history, right? So,
it's
and I
okay.
left a lot out, but
It was good information because now people know exactly what you do at UNLV. But taking it back to you knew you were destined for cinema. You made your cinematic debut with the Philip K. Dick adaptation, The Crystal Crypt, that went all the way to Comic Con. Now, I've always wanted to go to freaking Comic Con, so that's so cool on another level already. How did that early experience in the sci fi, high concept world shape the way you approach a commercial photography shoot for a brand today?
oh, that's a good question. That's actually a nice little twist question there at the end. So if I wind there and I don't get to the meat of that, of how I do it today, just nudge me and remind me. So that film, let's just start off with, everyone thought it was a bad idea. Everyone thought it was too ambitious for someone who didn't go to film school, right? Got a sociology
You always
degree.
got the
Like,
ideas
who?
people and the people who can't really see all the way through. You guys just need to stay
Exactly.
in the implementation. Like, you guys just need to
Exactly.
execute. Let me keep the
Hmm.
idea.
Exactly. But also, it's also endearing, right? They're looking out for me. They don't want me to fall flat on my face and spend all this money. But, essentially I spent $25,000 on producing that film. And, basically instead of buying a new car, or, instead of spending tuition money on a film school, that was my film school. That was my tuition. Prior to doing that, we had secured the TV commercial for the Luxor. This was in 2010. This was right at the time where Cosmopolitan was about to open, City Center was about to open, and so some of the older MGM Mirage properties weren't really getting all the attention because City Center was, kind of thing, right? And so it was quite easy to be like, hey, we got this idea, we could do it for quick and do a quick turnaround, and we just kind of did a slam dunk. Now on that TV commercial, I was basically, you know, the account exec, almost like Mad Men, right? Like I made the situation happen. I didn't direct it, I didn't edit it, I didn't shoot it, I wasn't cinematography. That TV commercial, which was commissioned work, ended up winning 4 awards at the National Davy Awards.
Crazy.
That's when I had my confidence. I called the producer who produced that TV commercial and I said, I'm ready. And he said, well, if you get the money. So I liquidated a retirement account and took out 2 credit cards and we made a movie. And of course, after the fact, people who see it, they're like, wow, that looks like a movie. Like, yeah, like, of course.
Yeah.
And then getting that into Comic-Con it was so validating, because it did include live action. It did include 2D hand-drawn animation,
Hmm.
which is really the exact audience is Comic-Con. And Comic-Con it's really is the whole city, right? It's San
Hmm.
Diego, almost like CES for Vegas,
Yeah.
where there's official stuff, then there's unofficial stuff, then there's unofficial after part, right? So
Yeah.
our film screened at the official Comic-Con Film Festival, and that was
And
just
that's so
so
dope.
amazing.
That is so dope.
And ever since then, but that was 2013. We made the film. 2016 was Comic-Con. It wasn't really until 2017, 2018 where I really had the confidence of, okay, yeah, you know what? I am a filmmaker, and that's exactly what I do and what you should hire me for and what I need the referrals for, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question, but
I mean, that was
no, so I had to bring it around to how I use it today. Okay,
yep.
beautiful.
Yep.
So,
Those
you
were
know,
great. Those were great build-ups.
Yeah, on a $25,000 production, there's a lot to manage. And one thing I would say when you're directing something, whether you're directing something that's $5 million, $30 million, $3,000, as the director, you are the pirate captain. And at any point in time, the entire crew can do a mutiny and literally leave and walk
Ooh,
off.
that's scary.
It's so nerve-wracking. In fact, a lot of the Turner Classic Movie podcasts you listen to, I mean, it almost gives me a heart attack, like all the pressure and heartache, that it comes with making a movie. But that's the other thing, right? So when you see a film, even if you hate it, even if you thought it was the worst, there's like 30, 40, 100 people that spent, 45 days, 12 hours a day, like making sure that they could get the footage that you need. So don't knock it so easily. Anyway, so it's taught me how to manage teams of that size,
Hmm.
to where, especially on that Crystal Crypt, we did have different departments, department heads, you know, and giving those department heads a little bit of autonomy so that they can, basically be the best that they can be in this assembly line of, departments kind of putting this thing together.
Yeah.
So learning that type of time management and managerial style really helps me, keep clients on track, right? There are a lot of things that they like or that
Hmm.
they want, but it's not necessarily the right it's working hard, not smart. And
Hmm.
so I can, put on the managerial hat and say, well, we are making these decisions. This is why, and it's based on your buy-in earlier. But this way, we don't hemorrhage money. We're not doing whatever, right? And it's just a well-oiled machine. And so that is really so key. Making sure that your um, help doesn't do a mutiny, keep everyone happy, uh, including the client, right?
Yeah.
So that was the most important thing.
That's definitely wearing a lot of hats under one roof, even though, well, kind of know what it looks like to direct things, just not on that level of what you're doing. So yeah, I'm having a heart attack for you. And you're doing so great.
Man. Yeah, Tim Burton made a movie called Ed Wood. I
Hmm.
can't watch it because the whole movie, the character of Johnny Depp, Ed Wood, he's just trying to finance his films. And it's so stressful for me. I can't watch it. Yeah.
So, we're talking about these American movies, and here in America, how does your unique cultural perspective act as a lens through which you view and decode American brand identities?
That's also a very good question. You did your homework here. No, I'm just kidding. There's definitely my identity, and I feel like, okay, so to a certain extent, what do they say you do when you're making a film? You are editing it, right? So everything you watch, whether it's a real documentary or a narrative film or even a surreal film, everything, has, you know, mm, when Islamic Republic took over Iran, which is
Hmm.
so topical right now because the people of Iran have, after 40 some years of it, are sick and tired of being, ruled by this totalitarian state.
Hmm.
But right when they were taking over, my parents got out. And so I was born in Los Angeles to, a son of two immigrants.
Hmm.
And growing up in the 80s, in the 90s, in Los Angeles, in the USA, uh, both having uh, unbelievable pride of being an American and being in America because my parents also had that pride. They felt like they literally dodged a bullet.
Hmm.
But then at the same time, having people look at my face and say, "Why don't you go back to your country?"
Yeah,
Or "Why don't you go back
it's
to where you
so
came
crazy.
from?" And usually I'd be like, "Oh, La Cienega, sure."
No, serious, because I had that growing up too, and it's wild because what? That's the only place I've ever been. I've never been anywhere else.
Exactly, exactly. And so, just having those experiences, but and then having those experiences, and then having, the dominant culture gaslight me about having those experiences. It's like, oh, well. what did you say to the cop? Like,
Oh, yeah.
less than whatever you would have said. You know what I mean? Like, you are cocky and can do that. I can't. And
Yeah.
but all of those kind of informed, who I was when I then became a teenager, when I then, started coming into, like, political ideology. And so, yeah, so it all of that has it, oh, and that's what I was saying earlier. When you create a film, you are editing. So everything is subjective. Everything is the director's point of view.
Hmm.
And so, I do put my own ideologies and spin on things and things that I hope that the viewers take from it. And a lot of my films, what I try and do, I do a lot of commission work, obviously, but when I say my films, I mean, you know, my entry into cinema, my own personal passion projects. I want it to be something that when you finish watching that, you then think about it, you then talk about it. Whether or not you agree with my point of view, that's not the
Yeah.
point. The point is, hey, I want to start a conversation about this because I don't think anyone is having that right now. So that Philip K. Dick story, the reason that was so important to me, shooting it in 2013, being in junior high during the Gulf War was horrible. All of the, American kids would call me Saddam Hussein when in
That's
fact
crazy.
Saddam Hussein bought chemical weapons from Reagan, so the US president, and Saddam Hussein used that for 8 years on Iranian children. So I hated him more than those kids did, and yet
Hmm.
they're calling me him. Right. So just the just dripping with ignorance. Right. Anyway, so that was junior high, then 9/11. Right. And so that again, backlash, not just from, and again, what I felt was from everyone, Black Americans, Latin Americans, like everyone looking at me like I'm a terrorist,
Yeah.
And so the Crystal Crypt, even though so Philip K. Dick is most well known for adaptations of his books like Minority Report, Total Recall, trying to think what else. Blade Runner, right? And so all of these like
Great movies.
dystopian kind of future things, a great author too. We really lucked out with that story because it was in public domain. But anyway, so in the story, it was written in the 50s, and it
Mhm.
was kind of like this Cold War, you know,
Yeah.
Martian spy with a hard-boiled detective kind of thing. But I kind of turned it into almost like okay, so you say down with the terrorists. Okay, well, what does a terrorist look like? Could literally look like anyone,
Yep.
light skin, dark skin, tall, short, non-binary, like literally could be anyone, but you are saying it is this type of person,
Yeah.
and that's what that film was about, even though on the surface it's, you know, these
Yeah.
earthlings, they're escaping Mars, and then it goes to a cartoon flashback.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that answer. You hit on quite a few different things that are completely relevant today. Well, what we're going through, like, what does a terrorist look like? Like, we are seeing that right now, and I know it's controversial to people, but I mean, to a whole bunch of families, ICE is a terrorist.
Yeah. And they are prejudging who, it's definitely,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, they can look like anybody. And, you have all these different stereotypes. Like I play a lot of Call of Duty, which my Codebreakers people should know by now because I mention it. And like you get on this game, and me as a woman, me as a Black woman, I have people like, you live in the ghetto or you're going to continue to go to jail. Like, I don't even have a record. What are you talking about? You're
right.
stereotyping.
Wow. Yeah, so throwing all of that to it, but not necessarily like I don't ever want my films to be shoving it down the throat. I'm just like, hey, you can see where my stance is. Now
Mhm.
let's talk. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Or you talk amongst yourselves if you know what I mean?
No, and
Yeah.
I like that because even in like I'm not producing movies and things like that, but I do a lot of content creation. And like you said, you can only really speak from your perspective and what you've experienced and what you know in life. I tend to make a lot of things that I work on, obviously Black centered. And
It's
it's
what you know.
it is what I know, but it took some time to get here as well because we grow up in the society where everything is not centered around me, and everybody does not look like me. So when I work on content for clients, like if you are trying to appeal or only want a certain type of audience in your visuals, then you need to make that clear because I'm about to diversify your audience right
Mm-hmm.
now. I am about to make your pictures real diverse. I'm going to make your content really diverse. We're not just going to be speaking to what we have grown up with knowing in America. So I even
Exactly.
have to look at that sometimes and go, okay, this client, I know they're not trying to appeal to this specific type of person in America. So let me just go ahead with this stereotype and
Mm.
create that content because I'm
And I
trying to
do
block
I do
it
want to
up.
stress not every single thing I make is overtly political.
Mhm,
The film that we shot during COVID, it's
mhm.
called Oh the Guilt, and that one, it's a drama about two best friends who get separated in death kind of thing. And yet, where you could see where Shahab stands that I took on that one was female leads. The only male actor in that movie is Sean Astin from Goonies, Stranger Things, that guy. Everyone else, every other character on screen, female. Screenwriter, female.
Yeah,
Composer, female. And so, making a statement without shoving anything down,
yeah.
just look at the credits and then you'll know kind of where we're coming at.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. It's one of the reasons too why I was excited to talk to you because Shahab is not afraid to, like he said, ruffle some feathers. And I'm very much in that same boat. I love people who are willing to make a stand, who are willing to stand up and speak about certain things, who are not scared to hold back on, what you are feeling or not feeling, what other
Well,
people
I
are
feel
feeling.
like human rights is going to be a constant thing and we're
Hmm.
always going to have to fight for it. And I will kind of thing.
And I love that. Okay. You got to go star in my book. So
Appreciate that.
let's talk about you being a UNLV administrator. So
Yeah.
you serve as the administrative faculty there. How does being in an academic environment keep your technical skills updated compared to someone who is only working in the private sector?
So two things. One, I kind of touched on earlier in that I'm so very lucky that I get to create content every single day. Some days I'm creating it, some days I'm editing it, some days, it's administrative meetings trying to figure out what we need, what's coming up, that kind of thing. The other thing that I love about it, again, because of the nature of my role at the College of Fine Arts, I get to see tomorrow's artists. I get to see every single one, right? So the artists that we have in dance don't necessarily know what the students in architecture are doing or the symphony orchestra students are doing, right? But I get to see what everyone is doing. And that is so inspirational to me because it really is tomorrow's artists. And to
Yeah.
see the types of things that they do with foundation, foundational stuff, but also then breaking that foundation and creating like tomorrow's art. Phenomenal. Like that's so beyond inspirational. And so, just analyzing what tomorrow's art is and getting to do it every single day. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I kind of stumbled into this job, initially 9 years ago, and I'm still there and I love it. I end up sometimes I'm in the trough, kind of getting stuff done and
Yeah.
nose to the grindstone, and then other times I go to Sundance Film Festival and we put on a mixer for all of our film alumni that have films that are screening. I mean, it's just, really, really cool, really awesome. And,
It sounds
you know,
super fulfilling.
it's quite amazing. I do feel bad because we're on, involved in the AMA together. And when I first started with AMA, I had none of that going on. It was like 2-3 years before I even got the first contract with UNLV. And now I'm just so inundated with like the most amazing job, with the most amazing people, with the most amazing
Mhm.
students, where the most selfish thing we get is, you know, when it's about the students. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's I don't know.
I
I
mean, but
do I
I
do
enjoy working with the AMA, UNLV students right now.
I
Like
love that you do that. That's, it's not
they are
often that
amazing.
a president of AMA does that. So kudos
So
to
what
you.
you're saying about being around the students all day and you get to see the next version of what this is going to look like, it is super fulfilling. So I can just imagine what you feel every day, because when I'm around those groups, I try not to call them kids because they are young adults.
True,
You know,
true.
they're moving on, they're kids compared to us, but they're young adults, but they are so fun to be
To
around. They're
me,
super
anyone
amazing.
under 40 is a kid. So sorry, but sorry. I've grown old,
Yeah,
I guess. Get
they're
off my lawn. I'm just kidding.
we moving into that age, but no,
Let's
they're
hope not.
they're fun groups. So I can just imagine you being over there in the art space and in
Man,
the
so
creative
so
space.
right, so when I think it was summer last year, a handful of UNLV film students went as interns to Warner Brothers.
Oh my
And
God.
so it was my job. So what was my job in that little whole thing? When they got back, I did an entire interview series with them, right? Where I interviewed them about their time there. And literally just the whole time I want to cry. It's just they're so grateful, and they're like, "Oh my God, I have these contacts on my LinkedIn of top people at Warner Brothers now, and they're kind of their brains you know,
Yeah.
like that is just priceless. Like, I don't know any other place that I could work, especially in the corporate world, where I would be as fulfilled as that
Mhm.
just by doing my job and seeing the impact it's having on these students.
Yeah, to be back in their seats. I don't remember doing like, I mean, I had some pretty cool instances growing up. At 15, one of my first jobs was working at Martin Luther King Hospital out in LA. And I was a mentee though. I was being
Hmm.
mentored by the
Hmm.
doctors there because at that time I was going into I wanted to be a pediatrician way back then. So I think that was probably the most coolest thing I ever did in my younger years. I used to sit my mentor was a ears, nose, throat doctor. So I sat in her office and every morning she would make me get on the computer and research brands. This is my first instinct with marketing and brands because
Interesting.
I know, right? When you go back in time and I had no idea I would be in the space that I'm in right now. So her whole aim was like, you're a little black girl growing up in Los Angeles. She knew my story, like kid to teen parents, the odds are stacked against you. Let's talk about what you're wearing today.
Mm.
You need to know what you are putting on your body and know the background and the history of these people. And if they align with you and your story, and if they don't, then you don't need to be wearing it.
Wow.
She would make me,
That's a mentor right
yes.
there.
So, and then we would go throughout the day and I would spend the first part of my day she would be checking her emails, she would be responding to clients, and then we would go do ears, nose, and throat appointments with her. So I was sitting there. She dealt with people who had hearing problems, people who had throat problems, people who had breathing problems. And then sometime throughout the week, we would trade off like for an hour with another mentor. So I learned how to do casting with the doctor who did nothing but cast. I learned how to do heart exams. Like I learned how to do so much in that mentorship program and I thought it was so freaking amazing. But fast forward, I remember my mentor because she was the first person to talk to me about brands, trust, and transparency.
That's amazing. Which has kind of nothing to do with ears, or let me check, nose, or throat, Like
Yep,
what?
nothing at all, but it led me to here I am today, and I'm teaching some of the same things in my workshops about
Amazing.
trust and transparency.
You should look her up and send her a
I
message. You
spoke with her many years back, and I'm friends with her on Instagram. She travels a whole lot. She's like retired. Yeah, she remembers me for sure. I remember her name like Dr. Denise Barrett.
shout out to Dr. Denise Barrett.
Yes, but that was the coolest
Uh,
thing that I did back then. I don't remember doing things like going to Warner Brothers or, that. I mean, I went to the
I mean,
bodies exhibit.
priceless. Like you can't. There's no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into the cinematic world of building. Now, we talked about Philip K. Dix. He is notoriously complex to adapt to. What is the technical process of taking a dense, high concept idea and simplifying it into a visual frame that an audience can instantly understand.
Your questions are phenomenal. Like, I
Thank
think
you.
CBS or CNN needs to hire you. Okay. So, man, I love these. These are like, because no, honestly,
Right.
also, let's just pause. Okay. A lot of interviewers, a lot of podcasts, and it's like, you know, I don't know. It's just like things that I don't want to talk about. And you're asking all the right questions. So the one thing that I wanted to make sure, because Philip K. Dick specifically. Okay, there's a lot of people who don't know who he is, but the fans that he has, they're just as serious as J.R.R. Tolkien fans, as Stephen King fans, to the point where if you mess up an adaptation, they hate you, right? And so that was like top of mind, right? So luckily, though, it's a short film adapting a short story. So this Philip K. Dick story, the reason it went into public domain is because he had it published. Maybe he got paid or he submitted it and they, won a contest or something, but it ran in a magazine in the 1950s. And then the magazine never renewed the copyright. And so that's what happened there. But so already it was, short stories, just like short films, are like a well-crafted joke. There's a
Yeah.
setup and then there's a payoff, and so already, lucky for us, it was already simple, even though it had all these complex ideas, right? That's not to say that it wasn't difficult. So live action shooting took 2.5 days. And in fact, the half day came because that was our load in, but I was like, no stage manager, let's shoot. We just, without, and we just, started shooting, did the cockpit scene. But as we were shooting that producer that I called that produced the Luxor commercial, he came up to me and he said, hey, we're looking at the script and everything. And I know we're covering these pages, which is already ambitious for 2 days. Let's hope everyone hits their marks and you don't have to do like 15, 20 takes, right? Let's hope the people you cast are good. Him and a few of the other people were like, we know you want to do 2D animation for the flashback scenes, but that's a lot of work. We could just do a green screen. And I was like, no, we're not going to do the easy way out. We're not going to do,
Yeah.
it has to, I want it to just have that different feel. And again, it was the perfect thing to stick my guns to, because having that animation, having that, kind of in concert with the live action got us into Comic-Con,
Mm-hmm.
But we did, okay, and I thought that they were going to gripe or whatever, but we did change a few things from the original story because we just had to, like, we just
Yeah.
couldn't, right? So here's number one, right? One of the things that we kept the same, which I was like, when they're running away from the Martian police, they get to the getaway car and he drops the keys. And for a split second, they're looking for the keys. Yes, that was from the 1954 version, right? But I wanted to keep it the same so no one complained that we changed it too much. But I also know that you're like, okay, they got spaceships, but they still have keys. I get it. But you know what? We wanted to leave, we wanted to, have that like connection with the original story. At the end, and I'm so sorry, spoiler warning, but you know what, guys? The story came out in 1950 something and the film came out in 2013. So you've had enough time. Spoiler, okay? So here's the spoiler warning, right? But at the very end of the film, it is revealed that there is a Martian police officer in disguise and he has caught them. He's caught the people who stole the city, right? And they shrank the city and they're stealing it, right? In the book, he turns to the bar and then there's all the Martian police and the people get taken in, they get handcuffed and they go to jail. As we're shooting, the main character, who's supposed to be the one who gets caught by the Martian police, shout out, is my cousin Cyrus Zogi. Like, he was in our Luxor commercials, and that did so well, got me this gig. So I gave him, cast him as one of the main characters. He comes up to me and he goes, every single person, like, I get it. The book's a book is a book. He said, every single person who's going to watch your movie is going to be a human. Do you really want to stick to that ending because the fans they want you to make it exactly the same? Because the humans are going to have a bad feeling, so what we ended up doing is we kind of did lady or a tiger ending, right? I'm not sure if you or the listeners are familiar with that, but it's like this age-old tale from like ancient Greece or something. You know, the guy wants to marry the princess, but the king goes, well, you gotta, you know, fight, da 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 da. And he goes into this gladiator thing, and there's two doors. If he
Mm-hmm.
opens one door, it's the girl. He opens another, it's a tiger. And he goes to open the door that he chooses, and the story ends. Right. So it kind of leaves it up to the viewer to decide what happens next or how it finished.
Yeah.
And so we kind of ended it like that. As soon as the Martian reveals himself and they go, oh my God, we're in trouble, end. And then that way you can decide if the Martians took the Earthlings in like they did in the book, or the Earthlings overpowered him because it is a ship full of humans and we kicked his ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. There's definitely a line between, changing too much and staying on par with the original. I'm a huge Disney fan, and it's one of the reasons why it makes me decide if I like or if I don't like these live action versions that they're coming out with of all the remakes. Because if
Like the
something's changed,
remakes. Yeah.
if something has changed way too much, then I'm not feeling it. Like, I definitely love the
And when you're a fan of something, you don't. And so when they, the world premiere, so it was 3 years before Comic-Con, the world premiere was at the Philip K. Dick Film Festival in Brooklyn, New York. And I was so nervous that everyone was going to hate it because we changed some things, right? Especially the ending. They loved it, and we won Best Philip K. Dick Adaptation that year.
Yeah, we
It
just need
was
something like
amazing.
very similar. I don't think you have to do like copycat it, as somebody who is a fan of something, but give me the things that make it nostalgic to me. And we're good.
Yeah, and again, the major change that we did was that in the story, when it did the flashbacks, it was a real flashback where they're talking with each other and, setting charges and stuff. In mine, it's just like a He-Man style animation with voiceover that you're hearing from the conversation that's being had. So we didn't, that was the major change, but the story beats were the same. So
It seems like you gave the people what they wanted and then gave them a little bit more.
luckily, I was so stressed. I was like, we didn't deliver. And then they loved it. I was like, whew. Yeah.
I love that for you. So, why was it important for you to build a collective? Z Collective rather than just a standard agency? Like, what does that shift in partnership mean for your creative output?
Man, someone needs to give you a gold star for these questions. I know I keep saying that, but wow.
Thank you.
So, something that some people in Vegas know, and some people don't. But in 2009, I started an agency here in town, um, and it was called Assurance Advertising, and kind of ran that for a few years. That company ended up being purchased by a tech company in town called Skywire. And
Mm,
they not only bought the company, but they ingested the executive team and brought us on as the internal marketing department, which was pretty
uh-huh,
cool.
uh-huh.
It was that boss there that poked his head into my office and said, hey, I signed you up for something. Go, which was my first AMA luncheon ever.
Interesting.
And then did that for a year, took over, ran the entire rebranding of the company. When that was over, I was kind of like, not much left for me to do here. You know what I mean? And so they wanted me on, but I just, the rebranding's over kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so I left and created my next agency, which was Higher Ground. And that went for a couple years until I got the gig at UNLV. We dissolved that and kind of went on our way. But when we dissolved Higher Ground, you know, while I was, doing this UNLV gig, I was still shooting commercials and music videos and things of that nature. And I didn't really want that to be tied in with my personal, I need it to be separate for my own brain or whatever you want to call it. Right.
Mm.
And so created Z Collective. And the reason why it's a collective is because versus 2009 advertising agency, which was a lot of I don't know, just like a group of employees that kind of all work together and are all kind of doing. Zed Collective is now this, you know, almost biological specimen which grows with budget or shrinks with budget. And
Mhm.
so if the budget only tasks for two people, well, then that's what we're going to have, and if you have something like Budweiser money, well, then we can have a crew of 45 and get this done. And so the collective part of it makes it so that it really is this web that can, kind of grow as the jobs scale versus something that's, all right, everyone clock in, clock out. Like we don't, I don't know. It's 2026. We've had a pandemic since all those times. And, you know, yeah, exactly. I never even thought of it that way. Both times I kind of ran an agency, it was pre-COVID. Things are different. Remote work means different things now, and
Yeah.
so I feel like I'm giving you a runaround answer because I don't quite know the answer, but
I
did
mean, it
any of
makes
that
sense
make
to
sense?
I was
Okay.
gonna say it makes sense
Okay.
to me because even
Yeah.
well, my perspective, if I may, seeing your work and all the different things that you work on, it is a collection, so to speak, of different works. It is like, we just had Simon on, who's an amazing videographer, and he
Love
does
Simon.
videos and cinematics in his own way as well for advertising. But it's exactly what you explained. He has more of an agency-based type of video creation firm, and you are a collective of people. Like you just stated, you don't just have employees, you have people who come with you that you have, and people who come with the people who actually wanna put on this movie, and
And
then
I guess it does. No, I'm sorry to cut you off,
no,
but
you're
it
good.
does kind of mirror the TV world,
Mhm,
the movie world, where
mhm,
if you get hired as a PA on Severance, it's
mhm,
amazing. You're getting paid. You're meeting all these cool celebrities or whatever, and then when the season's over, when you're done with your
mhm.
14 weeks, it's like temp agency work. You're
Yeah.
you're off to the next thing. So we kind of do structure
And
it a bit like
it's
that.
all different too. It's not just, oh, we do high-end commercials for agencies or brands or things like that. You literally have a collection, a variety, a different range,
Right.
a
We
collection of
could we could do that local Starbucks ad. For example, last year, 2025, about 8
mhm,
months, a big portion of our crew worked on a documentary called Unseen Territories.
mhm,
And it's spotlight on 14 local Las Vegas artists. And that
mhm,
was, I'm not gonna lie, I was not the director is this half Filipino, half indigenous artist named
yeah.
Sydney Galindo. And we were paid to be there, and we did the job, and it was a wonderful collaboration, a beautiful film. It's hitting a few film festivals. Oh, and by the way, am I allowed to plug stuff? Like, could I do a shameless
Yes,
plug?
please,
Okay, listen,
shameless
if
plug,
you've
okay?
listened this far into the podcast, thank you all. I'm really humbled that, Fernisha, you asked me and that anyone's even listening. But
Yeah. I love talking to all 40 squirrels inside your head.
oh my God. Yeah, seriously. So, and I don't even know when this podcast is dropping, but in March, mid-March is the Nevada Women's Film Festival during, Women's History Month. And so I actually have fingerprints on 3 different films that are playing. So, if you can make it out, please come Nevada Women's Film Festival, and one of the
Yes.
3 is this that I did the cinematography for, Unseen Territories. And yeah, so and that was just kind of to, kind of piggyback on your point. We don't just do one thing.
Yeah, that's where the collective comes in. You have a collection of a variety of different things. That's
And
my
all of my trusted partners that I know can kind of make it happen depending on what has come to our inbox. Oh, it never made sense. Yeah.
no. It was just a cool name.
hmm Well, actually, let me also say, like, the name. Okay, and this is so cheesy, and it's like it's not even like the real, reason of the name. But I did have to quickly come up with something,
Mhm.
and my last name is a Z. The producer who produced the Luxor commercial, his last name is Zamani, starts with a Z, and so it was just like all of these Z names. And I was like, all
Mhm.
right. And in Britain, they don't say Z, the letter Z, they say the letter Z. So I was like, okay, Z Collective. And then that way we can grow and shrink as we need.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. No, for sure. Instead of just naming it after one person, that's
Hmm.
definitely smart. So let's get into talking about the director's playbook, you being the director. So if we're talking to people who are looking to get into cinematics and things like that, if a brand feels static or boring, what is one cinematic special effect, whether it's lighting or framing, so be it? What is one thing that that will immediately give their brand more authority?
So I'm going to do my answer, but then I'm going to do a runner up if that's okay.
Yeah.
So my answer is this. And this is something I learned early on when watching an interview with the phenomenal director Robert Rodriguez. And he said, sound trumps all. That
Mm,
even if your video looks like crap, but it sounds pristine, people will forgive you. But if it looks phenomenal and it sounds like shit, they're never going to forgive you for that, And that was a lesson that, I mean, I carry that through my cinema. I carry that through my, commercial work. Even when I do talks, people are like, hey, come do a talk on how we should shoot our video for social. The number one thing is, yeah, spend a little bit of money on that lapel mic, spend a little bit of money and get a very nice microphone and then shoot it on your phone, shoot it on a
okay.
GoPro, shoot it on a, whatever.
Mhm.
So that's the number one. Like if, remember that, mantra from Robert Rodriguez, sound, sound, sound. That is paramount. Now runner up is this, okay? Yes, sound, but lighting. The largest, best, most amazing free source of lighting we have is the sun.
Mhm.
Anytime you can use it, sitting in front of a bay window, going under the skylight, like use the sun to your advantage.
Yeah.
Yes, the whole thing with sound, if it's shitty, they won't let, if it's too dark, they're also not going to watch. If it's too bright, they're also not going to watch. So start to learn your equipment, whether it's your phone or your DSLR or whatever it is. Start learning how, the settings work. Another tip that I also learned, Roger Deakins is a
Mhm.
phenomenal cinematographer who also has his own podcast. Amazing, highly recommend. When they ask him, all these questions about lighting and he's like film versus
Mhm.
digital, and I friggin' love his response. And his response always is, as the person who's shooting it, do you think it looks good?
Mm.
And if you don't, fix it. Make an adjustment, make it brighter, make it, less bright
Yeah.
or whatever. But if it passes the test, then it's probably fine. But, when people are just doing things with a phone or and they're not thinking of those things, they will do it without good light. They will do it with horrible audio. And that'll just be the detriment. It shows that it's just, uh, low quality content and they'll just swipe away, you know.
Now you can
Adding the
tell.
audio, adding the lighting, both of those things, you can trick people into thinking you have a high budget production.
Okay, not a Tubi movie.
Although I'm starting to love Tubi.
Well,
You just
Tubi has some
some
good
ads and then
drama.
you can watch some,
They definitely
stuff
have
that's
some
not
good
anywhere
drama.
else.
Now you can tell you love what you do because Shahab does his research. He's doing some great name drops. If you are looking to get into the film world, you need to do some research on some of these people that Shahab is talking about
And
so
go
you can
listen to
get
their
your.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can tell you listen to a lot of podcasts too.
I do. And
So
another thing that I do that I love